Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Now that everybody's situated, I believe we have most people in, I'd like to introduce you to Dave Roberts, who is our senior developer. He specializes in design and development. He has been crafting and refining for the last decade. Whenever it needs to be beautified, optimized, Marketo-ized, or just broken apart and put back together, Dave plays an instrumental role in handling the technical details of form and function in development. Dave has been a self-starting coder and tool builder specializing in front-end development for the last 18 years. This blend of experience in design and technology has helped Dave to become fluent in the language of techies and creatives, such as Adobe CS. And as myself, Nicole Burns, I'm with Digital Pie. I'm the Senior Director of Accounts here, and I've been with the company for the last 4.5 years. My focus is on strengthening our presence in the marketing community, ensuring our client support and optimization needs are met, along with focusing on our platinum partnership with Marketo and other marketing automation partners. And quickly about Digital Pie, we are a group of like-minded marketing professionals who love marketing, technology, people, and solving problems. We help marketers define the outcomes they want and do whatever it takes to help them achieve their goals. Just recently, we have been listed on this year's Inc. 5000 list of the most successful independent small businesses. Now on to the webinar. Next slide. So regarding your templates, and are they speaking the same language? Let's discuss them. Are you having trouble streamlining your Marketo templates? Do you feel that they are disorganized? We have created a Flex framework as a tool to standardize our approach to template development. It is intended to be a centralized hub for all of your landing page layouts and designs, keeping them consistent, portable, easy to use, and organized. Okay, next slide. And if you're suffering from any of these symptoms, such as a tight deadline, and your event is in 2 weeks, however, you know your template will be ready in 3, or you're limited with resources and you have a gap in producing and are limited on things such as images and content, videos, branding, layout and design, development, etc. And the other thing is it's not flexible. Your templates live in a world in their own, and some of them speak the same language. And also, they lack responsiveness, such as when you're showing off your site to a friend and you're on your phone and you have to make up the excuse for the layout not looking just right, and if they're unfocused. And your email to landing page journey, this may lead you wondering if you clicked the right link. Okay, move to the next slide, please. And we all know that the options today, you could use the Marketo template library. However, this can be very limited, along with subscriptions, which are also limited with a one-size-fits-all functionality. And with our Flex template, universal template, and what we call Flex at Digital Pie, we give you the ability to scale your brand and provide greater usability when you set up the Flex architecture. Now on to the important stuff. I'll leave it to Dave Roberts, our expert, and he'll show you our Flex architecture and how it works. Take it away, Dave.
Thanks, Nicole, and thanks for everybody being here. I'm hoping to walk you through the Flex framework here. I've kind of boiled it down to the essential ingredients, so we'll be looking at kind of just the very basic elements and then building from there. Before I dive into the framework, I'd like to touch on what is Flex. A lot of people ask us, what is it? And we're thinking about it in terms of a template. Is it this kind of layout or that kind of layout? And Flex was developed to answer that problem where you have multiple layouts, so you need multiple templates, and that creates multiple things for you to maintain. On the business level, smarter is using less and getting away with more. And that's the whole idea that we're trying to accomplish with Flex. Flex is, instead of one template use case, it's one template that services all of your use cases and has the flexibility to kind of dynamically change back and forth between, let's say, like a registration page and something more custom, like an event landing page where you wanted to show off who was going to be there, more like a confirmation page. So with all of that said, if you can imagine that we're going to be diving through here is going to be all of your different landing page assets kind of stacked together in this one template with the option to turn them on and off. We'll dive right in. At the very basic level of Flex, the standard kind of universal framework that we use is these 4 blocks. We've found that 4 is enough to provide for the variety that we need. And we work with Bootstrap. The Flex is built on Bootstrap 4, which is one of the more modern responsive frameworks. And that works in a 12-column grid. So these 4 boxes allow us to really situate within that grid and work within it instead of against it or needing to create customized stuff that was beyond what Marketo offers out of the box and what Bootstrap offers out of the box. So it's a little bit simpler in the long run. Now, this probably doesn't look like much. If you just had 4 boxes on your landing page, you'd probably be a little lost for building it. But what I'd like to do is kind of walk through some of the options that we've built and some of the toggles that you can expect to see with the Flex framework, and hopefully paint the picture of how life gets a little bit easier when you can move stuff around and you're in control of the layout instead of having to work within the confines of the layout. To dive in, I'm going to shoot down the variables panel here and talk very briefly about a few of the things that separate Flex from other templates that you may be familiar with. There's some overlap here. These starred variables are, I like to call them the first aid kit. This custom CSS and custom HTML are places that you could enter custom styles or custom HTML like a script at the foot of your template. But only for this landing page. So you wouldn't need to go and update your template. Now remember here, one template is going to be used out for all of your different use cases. So it kind of creates this need to be able to put certain styles on this page instead of that page, or a certain script on this page instead of that page. Marketo does offer some basic functionality up here in the meta tag section, but they do not allow you to incorporate extra HTML down at the bottom. So these are things that we use more or less as a stopgap or a quick fix to allow you to make changes for this page specifically instead of having to open up the template, create a change, reapprove all your assets, and so on. The other significant thing that really separates Flex from the rest is this easy editor, and you'll see this on most of the templates that we set up. This is intended and was grown kind of out of feedback from our users saying, man, it would be great to be able to kind of navigate this layout, have a sense for where things were. So we built a toggle here that's only going to show up within the context of the editor mode. You don't have to worry about this being approved and somebody seeing it. But what it does is it kind of paints these boxed outlines around our different sections of content, which are probably pretty easy to see right now. But as you get to adding content and moving things around, sometimes it's easy to get lost. So this provides kind of a legend or a key. I'll leave it on as we go through the demo just for the sake of clarity. But you'll see what it does is it lets me know I'm looking at the demo section up here, so it kind of separates that section. As we bring other sections in, you'll see the tags for those. And then it lets me know what the element name is. I've got my elements panel here hidden, but you'll notice when I hover over demo2 content name, the block that lights up here is demo2 content name. So that lets me know if I'm looking to make an edit here, I can click in here and kind of how things are arranged. So it helps me kind of navigate between the two as things become more complex. Now, that's not something you have to have on. It's just an option to make things a little bit easier for you. In the demo section here, I'd like to show off kind of the basic variables that we have. So the best way to think about this is you're seeing 4 elements on the page. There's 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But there are also 3 hidden elements. Between block 1 and block 2, there's a gutter or a column break. Between 2 and 3, there's a gutter, and between 3 and 4, there's a gutter. So if you can imagine 7 different elements on this page, it might be a little bit easier to follow along as we start moving this stuff. So I'll jump right into the variables here. And between columns 1 and 2, we've got a column break that's turned off. All turn this on for the sake of example. And what we'll see is this is going to break the columns rather than being in one long row. We're going to have one long row at the top, and then the column break that's on starting a new row, pushing down 2, 3, and 4. This makes it super easy to go from a 4-column layout to, you could delete this and have a 3-column layout, just empty the content here. Or you can turn on the break between 2 and 3, or the break between 3 and 4, which is a familiar pattern that we use. Some content on the top, and then you'll see 4 is going to drop down to the bottom here. And then we've got split blocks in the middle here, 2 and 3. If I were to turn the column break on between 2 and 3, you guessed it, we'll see the same behavior here, where we get a stack of these. So by flipping 3 toggles, I've taken this section's layout from being 1, 2, 3, 4 left to right to being 1, 2, 3, 4 stacked on top of each other. No extra coding required, and it really allows you to manipulate the layout to suit this new content or make a small variation for that one use case. And that's really where you end up getting the value from Flex, is the ability to make these kind of on-the-fly adjustments and not have to go back for a new template for a new use case. For the sake of the example here, I'm going to go back to our common pattern, which is block 1 on the top, block 4 on the bottom, and 2 and 3. Generally, we'll do something like this for a 2-column layout, and we'll just hide block 1 and block 4. The reason that we do that is to give you, for a little future proofing, to give you extra elements that you can add content to here. You get feedback and somebody says, hey, it'd be great, but let's put a full width headline on there. You can put it in block 1 instead of block 2. So it gives you a little flexibility growing into the future. You can expect to see these 3 toggles in every section that we turn on. There's 2 more that you can expect to see in the basic setup here. And these are another thing that really differentiates Flex, thanks to Bootstrap 4 compared to Bootstrap 3, which is something that came out this year, uses the Flexbox technology and lets you manipulate the layout a little bit smarter. So what I'm going to show off here is that we can flip the x-axis. So if you imagine we've got a line going through the middle vertically and a line going through the middle horizontally. Flipping the x-axis is going to put 2 and 3. It's going to reverse the left and right sides. So I'll click that on and we'll see it in action. This allows you to quickly have content set up and flip the sides left to right or right to left without having to do any copy paste. You'll see a little bit as we move forward through the demo where this really comes into shape and makes a little bit more sense, but it's built to give you the flexibility to do that. Now, likewise, if you're reading ahead a little bit, you probably saw this flip y-axis, and I bet you guessed it, that's going to flip the top and bottom. So now we're going to get 1 on the bottom and 4 on the top. The other thing that this is doing is rearranging the layout for mobile to be, instead of ordered 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's now going to read 4, 3, 2, and 1. So if you've got a section that you want to restack a little bit differently for mobile, you want the bottom stuff on top or the top stuff on bottom, or you want 3 to break above 2 because you've got your form here or something like that, then it would make sense to reverse these. So these are the 5 basic toggles that will be built into every section that really allow you to rearrange these 4 blocks in any way that you need. And I'll reset these back to bring them in order and shrink this up just for the sake of the demo here. So we've got a little bit more room. Now, the idea with Flex is that we're able to take lots of your different use cases and roll them into one use case. So you might imagine what we were just playing with was a different layout or a different element, a different piece of the layout. And now what we want to do is add a banner to our layout. So we've got sections. There's the demo section, the banner section. We'll get into the main section in a little bit. And section over section, we can turn these rows on or off to include or exclude these different layouts from our new design here. So I'm going to flip on the banner display here so we can have a look at this. In this section, we've got 2 new variables that are introduced on top of the column break and the flip toggles. And those 2 are sizing and type. In the banner, we're going to have a look at type. So the first thing you'll notice when this comes in is we're following our I-beam pattern where we've got this long section at the top, 2 columns left and right, and a long section at the bottom. You'll notice that the content has been removed. There's just a little note there that lets you know you can add some extra space here. When we adjust the banner, one of the things that we see is people might want to, not only in the banner section, but in every section, be able to add a background image, a background color, and dress it up without having to get too deep into the code. So we've consolidated all of that into one variable up here for the background. You can add a color. For example, I'll add a light gray now, and we'll watch as Marketo processes, and it's going to turn, as you expect, the background here light gray. Beyond that, we can also use the same variable to include an image in the background. And once Marketo processes that, you'll see that we've got this 1920 by 480 image hiding behind all of our blocks here. So it gives you a little versatility there to be able to bring in a background element, a background color, or have nothing at all and leave it white as we had seen before. The other piece I wanted to show you guys in the banner here is we've got 4 text modules set up for editable text regions right now. This one's set up with an image, so you might imagine this is your white paper. This is a little box saying, hey, this is the greatest white paper that Earth has ever seen. You click the button to download it. But in some situations, you might actually want to have your form up here in the banner. Now, in Marketo, the option that you would have with an editable text area is to embed your form in here. That works well in some cases, doesn't work well in other cases. So to work around that, what we've done is made this third column here be able to flip back and forth between text and a form. So in most situations, we'd go through a layout and say, hey, let's identify where you would want a form sometimes and maybe want text other times, and this would be one of them. So we've built this banner type toggle here. You'll see it's set to text right now, and that's an editable text area. When I flip this over, we've got the option to add a form here. That form will come in. I've already dropped a form in here, so it should be pre-populated. And you'll notice that that form is responsively taking the shape of this container. In a lot of cases, you'll want to not have a form here and perhaps only have some content on the left side. There's a few ways that you could go about doing that. One is turning it back into a text module. Another would be to just remove the form and leave that as an empty column. Or in the text section here, we could just go in and delete this content and leave this as an empty column. So this would be for the situation more so like for a thank you page or a follow-up where maybe you wanted to clear the form element out. So we just delete this, apply it, save it. And now we've got just our banner with our messaging here. Now you'll notice that this responds as I remove the taller image there, it's going to shrink up. I could add spacing to the top and bottom here. I could add some spacing above or below. So now you're starting to get the sense of where these extra boxes can come into play and give you a little bit of extra breathing room there. Beyond the banner, the next section that we'll get into is the main. This is intended to be like your body section in a landing page and kind of talk to some of the needs that you would have there. Now, when we bring this in, you'll notice it's just like the section before, the main section here. We've got the I-beam pattern, so a long one up top, 2 split columns here, and a long one on the bottom. And then what we'll have is content on the left and a form on the right. In this form, I want to stop for just a quick minute to talk on this. One of the things that we bake into the Flex framework is form styles, which is to say that we set them up to be responsive, to be easy to use in Marketo. You'll notice that we've got this crazy layout going for a form here. It's 2 columns, 2 columns, 1 column, 1 column, 3 columns, some message down here. That's all over the place and fairly difficult to achieve easily without the help of some development in terms of styling a form. I want to pop in real quick to the form editor to show you guys how this is set up and how you can expect Flex form styles to work. Within the context of the form here, you'll notice I've just dragged and dropped these, which is Marketo native functionality. You can just add columns columns in a row. So we've got our 2 columns, we've got a 1 column, this automatically sizes, this automatically sizes. And then down below, I've just dragged and dropped these into 3 columns. The template styles read that and then crank out this responsive 3-column layout here. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't need a developer to go back and forth between 2 columns and 1 column. And this is a really big pain point that we've tried to iron out with the template. So forms and the landing page they kind of come together. You just make a new form, don't need to style it, put it on here, and away you go. What I'd like to show off in the main section is what we skipped over in the banner, these column sizes. So what we can do here is, you see we've got even columns, but you might not always want half a column, half a page on the left and half a page on the right. In a lot of cases, what we see is that this left column is actually a little bit wider, let's say about 2/3, and this right column with the form is shorter, thinner, and it's about 1/3. So we've set up a variable to give you the option to either increase the size of box 2 here, and what you'll see is this is a proportional toggle. So we're going to make this one large, and then you'll notice 3 is still set to normal here. So we've got a longer left column and a shorter right column. Because these are proportional, if we were to set 3 to large as well, because they're both large, they would split the space and we'd be right back to that 50-50 setup. But let's say for some reason we really want to feature this form, or we don't have that much content on the left here, we could just decrease 2, set that back to normal. So now 3 is large and 2 is normal. And we'll see as Marketo responds that we get a wider form here and a thinner left column that runs for a little bit. Now with the content that I've put in here, you'll notice when the left column with the content is thin, it goes beyond the form. So we get this white space below the form here. So what I'm going to do and what I'm trying to illustrate is that we can, based on the content that we've added, the paragraphs that we copy paste in here, we can massage the layout just a little bit so that in this split 50-50 situation, we've got content that's as long as our form, and just as you scroll down the page, saves you a little bit of white space, looks a little neater. Likewise, if your content was significantly longer, you could always make that column large, and that's going to squeeze the form and allow more room for your content here. So you could probably add another paragraph or a small feature here and still have that in line with your form. So that's another toggle we put on some, we don't put on others. It depends. It's one thing that we can introduce on top of these 5 core variables that we're using again and again as we move from section to section. The next piece I'd like to walk through here is article. I included this one in the demo because it's a very popular layout that we see. It's where you've got this image on the left and some text on the right, and then text on the left and image on the right, this kind of alternating pattern where on mobile it goes image, text, and then this image and text. So what I wanted to point out here is, just like with the main section and all of the other sections, we're still only using 4 blocks, but we've arranged those differently. Rather than one being full width, one is short or normal, and then the second one is large. So if we were to scroll down into the article, we would see that block 2 is set to large and block 3 is set to large. And that's why we get this larger proportion on 2 and 3 and a shorter proportion on 1 and 4. So those don't necessarily have to go above and below. We can also repurpose this. It's almost like we have 2 sections here. If you wanted to be a little bit more thorough, you could put your image in 2, you can put your content in 3, and then above and below we could do the same kind of I-beam if you wanted to future-proof a little bit. Now I want to show off a little bit more the flip variables in this article situation here, because this is where you can really start to see that come through. So let's say we just wanted to flip these, maybe we our form, or we've got another graphic up top. In most situations, you'd be kind of stuck with the template. You have to go into the template, make some modification to either the rows or the columns or the layout somehow. In this case, we're able just to flip a toggle and put the top image on the right, the bottom image on the left. Now, likewise, if I've got my content all fixed, I've gone in and edited it, and I've gotten some feedback that says, you know what, Dave, Article 2, we actually want people to read Article 2 ahead of Article 1. Can we flip those really quick? And all you got to do is open your landing page editor here, flip the y-axis. I accidentally clicked the x-axis, so we'll also see these flip back, and then we'll see 2 come up to the top here. But maybe that's a good example. It'll show you that this thing can really take lots of different shapes. So now we've got Article 2 on the top with the image on the right. If these work together, so if we were to flip the x-axis again, you can imagine the image is going to go to the left for Article 2, and content is going to move to the right. So this really lets me morph my layout, play with my layout quite a bit. Let's say I didn't want this uneven sizing for the top one. Maybe this is a feature article or something I want to do a little bit different. I've got a different image. I've got more or less content. What I can do, my apologies. Oh, one's down here on the bottom. So now we've got this 50-50 layout within the same section, and we also have 2/3 and 1/3 layout. So it kind of gives you the ability to resize these things. We could also bring, if we set this Article 3, so this block back to normal, we'll get that 50-50 all the way down. So you get a little bit of more leverage to work this the way that you want it, to have it work for you without needing to go back to the well for a new layout, a new section, a new template, a new use case. The final piece that I want to walk through is a little bit more granular, and it's because we hear sections like this or comments like this a lot. Can we easily, without having to go into the HTML, mess around with the content? Can we move stuff around? Could we, let's say we have speakers. This is something that comes up a lot. Sometimes we have 2 speakers, sometimes we have 3, sometimes 4 maybe in a really crazy situation, and occasionally we only have 1. So is there a way that we can either hide or show these specific boxes without having to, like we saw in the previous section, use all 4 of them to make up the grid? So what we've done here, like we did in the previous sections, is we've got the same 5 basic toggles. So you can play with the column breaks. You can flip them left to right, right to left, bottom to top. But on top of that, we've included 5 more variables for this section. There's one that controls each of these speaker displays. So we've got speaker 1, 2, 3, and 4. And each of those have a display here, speaker 1, 2, 3, and 4. For the sake of showing this off, I'm just going to grab 3 because it's in the middle, and that's unlikely that you would turn that one off instead of 1 or 4. But what this will demonstrate is that the layout, it's not going to slide over. It's going to actually resize to give you all the room that you can have for these 2 speakers. Let's say I clicked off speaker 2 and I didn't want to use that one. I had 1 and 4 preset, and those folks will actually be here. Now I've got these 2 speaker cards to manage, and you'll notice I get a little bit more room here as well to play with. So it's not like we've got these 2 cards that are sandwiched to the left side and feel a little bit out of place, or like they weren't designed to be that way. I'm going to go back up to 3 here to show off the final toggle that's built in here. And this is an example of how we can kind of target within the editable area here. We've got an image, and then we've got this name and title. Now, in some cases, you want these to be stacked up and down. In other cases, you want to save some vertical real estate and maybe move the first name and title over here. So we could set something like that up on a toggle, given that you let us know, hey, here's the before and the after condition. And this is an example of that. It would be as if somebody said, hey, could we get these to stack and not stack depending on my preference? And the answer is almost always yes. We put that on a toggle, so you get the row state here. So you've got the names and the title next to it. Or you could have it in the column, depending if you've got 3 speakers or 2 speakers or 4 speakers. You may or may not have as much room. For the sake of example, let's go back up to 4 speakers and have a look. It looks pretty good when we've got this column set up and the image is above the name and title. But when we switch back into the row setup, you'll see it'll sandwich the first and last name, title and company name, get separated, they drop to a separate line. So maybe we're squeezing a lot of information into a little space there. So this is the type of adjustment that you would be able to make. If you had 4 speakers, you might want to go with the column. Now, if you only had 3 speakers, as we were looking at before, you've got a little bit more horizontal real estate. So this layout might actually look a little bit better for you. You'll notice one of the things that's happening is first and last name is centering with the image here as that grows. So it's one less thing for you to have to worry about. Go in, update the image, update the content, and be on your way, flip a few toggles. Now, the next thing that I'm going to show you guys is the thing that I'm most excited about. And truthfully, I saved it for the end. It was something not too long ago that people were telling me that I read was impossible to do with Marketo landing pages. So I'm really proud to show you guys something like this. And the situation goes like this. We've got this great speaker section, and it's buried down at the bottom of our page. Dave, I'm not so sure that people are going to scroll all the way down the page to check out these speakers. Is there a way that we could predominantly feature these? Let's move them up here under our banner section. So in this case, we would want our layout to go demo, banner, speakers, and then main. What I'm going to show you guys now is made possible using Bootstrap 4's Flexbox technology. So what we're able to do is reorder these sections, and you'll notice here on the side we've got demo set up to an order of 1, banner 2, main 3, article 4, and speaker 5. So if I wanted to reorder these, I would still want demo to be 1, banner to be 2, but then I want speaker to be 3, I want main to be 4, and I want article to be 5. So I'll make those changes and let Marketo process. What we'll notice here is this main section is going to get bumped down, and we're going to watch our speakers jump up here under the banner section. So now we're able to rearrange our layout section over section and move these things around to give you even more mileage on your template. So once these are set up, you can rearrange your layouts and feature the things. Let's say you do A/B testing and you get a lot of clicks, a lot of traction based on your speakers, or maybe you write compelling content. This allows you to make the template work better for you without having to go back and rearrange things at a template level. So that covers the bases with the demo. These are the basic things that we build into each of these templates, and a few of the variations. I hope it's given you guys an opportunity to see some of the basics here, as well as some of the extended functionality. We're going to move into questions and answers in just a moment, so I'd be happy to field those. Real quick, I'm going to jump back into our presentation here and let you know, if you like what you've seen, what it looks like to get Flex. This is another thing that comes up. This sounds a lot different than a template. This sounds like kind of a big process. And it is. We don't just provide you with a template. In the best of situations, we look across all of your templates. We look across all of your landing page assets, and we audit those and look for common places that we can reduce and consolidate that into a singular framework that works for you and your business requirements. Some of our clients have power users at their disposal, and we can unlock a lot of things. Some of them have people that are relatively novice to technology operating this, or they're new to Marketo. So we're able to really dial those things in to lock them down and make it easier for their end users to use. So here's what concept to delivery. We look at about 45 days. I'll walk you through the life cycle of this quickly here. In week 1, we generally do some sort of discovery where we kick off. We have a prep call. We start to figure out what you guys are doing right now, what you're looking to do in the future. How do your assets talk or not talk to each other? In week 2, we look at the requirements, and we have conversations about what kind of functionality you want, any kind of business requirements, or global needs, dynamic content, that kind of stuff. After 2 weeks of preparation, and that can be shortened a little bit depending on where you're at if you're ready to go, we begin with the coding. Coding is generally about 2 weeks for these. The first week, we're usually working on getting the framework set up, snapping in your branding layer, and kind of thinking about the different adjustments that might save you some time down the road. In week 4, we're testing, we're polishing, we're beginning to deliver basic use cases for review to get some feedback. And then in week 5, we deliver what's the first proof, get some review, do some coding, do some testing, and hopefully get some signatures so that in week 6 we can focus on just launching it, making sure that everything is hooked up, testing it, documenting it, rolling out, and giving everybody a huge high five. If you've got 45 days, this could last you for years. The difference between Flex and lots of other templates is that it's a preparation type of experience with Flex, where you're getting ahead of the game instead of playing catch up from behind. So if you've got 45 days to look ahead and plan for the rest of the year, for the rest of next year, into what kind of templates you're working with, Flex gets better and stronger as you go, as we add more to it. That's basically what it's built to do. With that, I will snap over into the question and answer portion here.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. We got a couple questions that came in. One from Julie. She asked, is Flex a Digital Pie proprietary solution, or is it Marketo solution?
That's a very good question, actually. It's something we coded using Marketo and Bootstrap. I don't know that I would call it proprietary necessarily. We don't own Marketo, we don't own Bootstrap. We were pretty clever in how we put those two things together to make your life easier. But the way I really like to answer this question is I myself, and nobody at Digital Pie themselves, came up with the idea for this. We got this idea from feedback from all of our great clients and say, hey, this is a pain in the neck. How do we solve for this? How can we make this faster? And so we standardized the way that we build things so that we can roll them out consistently across our clients. And Flex is really a testament to that. It's something that we can put into organizations big and small, but it's really, at the end of the day, built for your organization. So a better way to think about it is that at the end of the day, you'll end up with your own proprietary version of Flex compared to another client's, because your business needs are different, your branding needs are different, your functional requests are different, that kind of thing. Great question, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I got one from Elliot. Please demonstrate what a single speaker would look like.
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
Oh, sorry about that. Please demonstrate what a single speaker would look like.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Let me snap this back over here, Elliot. Let's say we were to turn off. That's a really good question, actually. So we're going back into the speakers. I'm going to turn off speaker 2 and speaker 4 here. Now what you'll see is that we'll have, same as before, and we're kind of growing. You see the in-between stage here of 2. We're going to have an image on the left and content on the right, and there's going to be a big gap there. That's probably something we don't want, which is why we built in this row to column switch, because as these things change, if you were stuck with another template, let's say, and you just deleted the other 3 at the template level, you would still have some work to do. In this case, we've thought ahead and built in this column switch, so that way you could have one speaker in this big box with a section underneath. And again, we could customize this a little bit for you so that if you needed it to be a little smaller, a little bigger, depending on your business requirements, we could make that go. But that's a great question. We can also, Elliot, to demonstrate just a little bit more here, and I'm going to get too lost in it, but I'm going to put all of the speakers on. And then what I want to do is create a break between the first box and the second box. And if you remember, what that does is it creates this long section at the top, and then we'll have the rest of the sections at the bottom like we saw up in the demo. And this is something you could do if you had like one featured speaker. So like, you know, this is the person that's going to be acting most of the time, and these other 3 people are panelists. So you could have this kind of layout as well. I appreciate you bringing that up. It was good to show that off. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And we have another one. Do we have long-term support if we template or want to make a change?
Absolutely. That's one of the best things about working with Digital Pie compared to your other solutions that are out there, is that we will work with you as long as you want to work with us. We're good with being friends. So as long as you guys need support for this stuff, we're happy to come back specifically with our clients and help support this stuff. And a lot of the times that means you get me on the phone, you get one of our other developers that's really savvy with this, helping you out, helping you solve problems. The reason I really like to do that and be involved, the support is actually really important to me, is because I learn. I don't get to do all of the things that marketers are doing day to day, so I don't get to see all of those challenges. My head is stuck in code and cranking out new ideas for landing pages and email. So when those problems are put in front of me and put in front of us for support, it gives us the opportunity to kind of think high level about it and say, oh, what can we do to make improvements? Between last year and this year, if you go back, there's another Flex demo from last year that we showed off, and we've made significant improvements between then and now. And that's a testament to this feedback and support cycle. With a lot of clients, it ends up looking like we do a build, and then we'll put aside a bucket of hours for support, for training, for documentation, that kind of stuff, to make sure that you guys are in really good shape moving forward with it.
Great, thanks, Dave. And we have one last question from Carolina. Can you show how the page would look on mobile, in particular with the form when you're making the width of that block narrower and it had those 3 columns with checkboxes?
I would love to. A great question. I appreciate that. It's let's put it to the test here, and the proof is in the pudding. So here's what I'll do. I'll go back to the banner section here, or you know what? Let's hop back into our main section, which I've reorganized here. So on mobile, if I were to shrink this down, we'll notice because we're going column 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and 4 at the bottom here, that what we'll get is this main content that stacks above our form. So let me resize this here in the browser a little at a time, just so you can see it responding. And then we'll get into mobile view around tablet size here, and you'll see that form jumps down. Now we've got single columns all the way down, single columns with the checkboxes. So it's built to kind of know where you're at in terms of the forms. You can have these crazy 3-column things, and that works itself out as you go down to mobile. Now I'll also show you, because I think that's a great question. I really like to push this kind of stuff to the extreme. In a lot of situations, what you're going to want to do is have your form appear above your content. It's a pretty common request that we get. So if you remember, we showed this y-axis. I described it, but I didn't show off the functionality. I'll do that here now, though. So we're going to reverse the y-axis so that the main section counts backwards. It goes 4, 3, 2, 1. So you'll notice that we've got 4 at the top, 3, and then 2, and then 1 down here at the bottom. Now, what's really cool about this is that when I drag this back out to desktop view, you'll see absolutely nothing changed here. There's 4 on the top, but we still have our form on the right. So that toggle gives you a way to not only control the width of the form. Let's say we were to make it, so we're in main, column 2, let's set that back to normal. If it were the exact same width, you would get the exact same thing as you went all the way down to mobile. And there you have it. Easy squeezy. A couple of flips of the toggle there, and you should be good to go. I hope that answers your question there. Thank you. That was a really good one. I appreciate the challenge.
We had some other ones come in too, Dave, from Tiffany. And also, Mark, I know you asked a question, but I think you provided a link. So I'm going to have Dave actually answer that question to you via email. So Dave, it's a question that Mark has that's a little bit more technical. So I'll have you guys take that offline. And then also for Tiffany.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so Tiffany's asking, can you build templates for Email Editor 2.0 as well?
Oh, yes. We have an expert on our team named Stefan, and this guy's lights out when it comes to email. We also have a Flex email template. So he's the ninja behind all of that. And he really gives me a run for my money, keeping up on my toes with landing pages. So what I've shown you guys in landing pages today, instead of in terms of forward thinking, and doing new and creative things that you haven't seen before, he's all over it with emails. So we definitely have a solution there. I would even venture to say that the Marketo editor experience for email 2.0 is way better than the landing page editor. You can drag and drop modules. Marketo is, in my opinion, the best email creation tool in terms of a content management system that's out there. The drag and drop feature, the modules, the ability to customize that kind of stuff. And Stefan is very, very rigorous about being dialed in and making sure that it works, not just for like 2 or 3 clients, but the guy tests like 50 or 60 clients consistently. So it's not only something that we can do, but we've got a lot of information and a lot of experience with email in terms of what works and what doesn't, where it's okay to kind of push the envelope and where you might want to be a little bit more conservative. And sometimes when we set these up, we can do either landing pages or emails or both, depending on the engagement, depending on how much time you have. But usually there's a holistic package that goes in that's on one side landing pages and on the other side email. And that in total is the complete Flex framework.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. And then from Enrico, I think we got a couple more minutes left. Are you okay with that, Dave?
Let's keep rolling. I can talk about this for days.
Okay. From Enrico, he says, what's the pricing structure? Is there added subscription cost on top of the implementation upkeep? And is there an SOW?
There is not an additional subscription cost. The way that we handle this is hourly. So we'll set up, usually amounts to a flat fee. You come with your business requirements and what you're looking to get done, or we have like a kickoff where we spend a few hours auditing and bringing that information to the table in front of you. We've run through that a lot. It might be easier for your organization. It might be easier for us. But whoever is best for that to put the information on the table, we look through it and kind of digest it, and then we'll come back with some numbers, usually an SOW that says, hey, we think we can accomplish this in so many hours. From there, everything that you just saw is yours. You can do what you want with it. There's no subscription, no upkeep. A lot of our clients do come back around for things like rebranding, or they have some experience with it and hey, can we add a few things to make it easier, or can we try this crazy new idea and fit that in? And again, those are the types of things that in that support relationship that we develop once we build these things, that we can kind of back and forth and handle those as they come up. Sometimes a quarterly budget works for that, sometimes a flat amount up front, sometimes hourly. So again, we're flexible to the needs of your business in terms of that. But one thing you can expect not to pay is a subscription fee for your assets.
Great, thanks, Dave. And then last one from Sarah. You mentioned rearranging the demo sections for a mobile version. Would these need to be separate? Would these need to be separate landing pages, or are you able to set different layouts for mobile and desktop?
I understand what you're saying. I think we would have a different, I'm sorry, I'm struggling a little bit here. We would have a different layout like we do here for desktop, where we've got the 2-column layout. And feel free to chime back in if you feel like I'm not answering your question here. But on mobile, these would stack. The same is true for every section. So the speaker section here, as we go down to mobile, you'll see these stack up. So we're going to get a slightly different layout here, and then also here. And then as we get into mobile here, with the entire layout. And feel free to follow up if I didn't answer that. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking there. I apologize. I'll flip some of these toggles while we're in here, though, just to kind of show you restacking the stuff. So here you'll notice the layout kind of shifts between that stacked and unstacked bug. Let me know if there's something else I can do to answer that as well. Thank you.
Okay, I think that covers it. I don't see any other questions. Oh yeah, I guess Sarah wrote back. She said you answered her question. Good.
Awesome. High five, Sarah. Appreciate you.
Well, I think that's it for the Q&A. And you know, for today's webinar, you can go to the next slide, Dave. There we go. We're going to send out a recording within 24 hours to everybody on the webinar today. And then also, if you have any questions, feel free to email us at hello@digitalpi.com. And also, we have a readiness assessment for you as well, and we can send that out. Make sure that you have what it takes to get Flex up and running. And if you have any additional questions and want to reach out to us, don't hesitate to give us a call. Thanks to everybody, and it was a pleasure presenting today. And thanks again, Dave. You rock.
Thanks again, and like we always do, you guys keep living the dream. Appreciate you.
Okay, bye.